Okay, hello everybody. I'm going to be doing a short little tutorial video on how I do tattoos for my dolls. I'm just going to show a couple of methods today, one of which is regular old temporary tattoos. These are the kind that you put on your body. They just happen to be doll sized, and I have trimmed them as close as possible to the edges, just so that I can see where I'm placing it on the doll from behind, because you absolutely cannot move them once they're wet. So I have two of those. As you can see, I already have a few of those on the dolls. They do, unfortunately, sometimes get little bubbles just because the skin of the doll isn't porous and it doesn't fully stick right away. And if it moves at all, you'll get a little bit of a light spot. But I think I should be able to paint over those later. And then I'm also going to show some Waterslide decals. These are one of the black and gray sets from Dear Girl Face. And I have already put a few of them onto the dolls. These are Waterslide decals. These bats on her are Waterslide decals from a nail art set. This is from another Dear Girl Face black and gray set that I have, and then those are matching ones. And I will be doing a second video later because I think you can see that I have already sketched another design onto her. So I will be doing some that are just hand drawn. And then another one I wanted to kind of touch on today, but I'm not going to show in a video just because it's too tedious. I hate doing them. And if it weren't for the fact that these designs are so friggin' cute, I wouldn't bother. But it's these, and they look like Waterslide decals, but they're not the same as Waterslide decals. They need something sticky on the back to peel the ink off of the plastic bit. So the way that you apply these is you paint on a thin layer of glue. I use tacky glue, and then you glue the piece down. And when the glue dries, you have to very carefully find the edge of the plastic and peel that off, and then the design stays. And it's not perfect. I will be touching these up by hand, and you can see it's really shiny. So I paint over them with a matte sealer. And I may even just go over some of the colors because I'm not sure I like quite how bright they came out. But essentially, it's a good way to get these small little detailed designs. These are ones that you buy in, they come in big long plastic strips, and you just cut out the pieces that you want off of the strip. Uh-oh, I knocked my cord. Hang on, guys. Let me fix this. This webcam. There we go. Okay. So they come on these big long strips. You cut the strip down to size. You cut the piece off that you want. And then you stick it into the glue and or nail polish, because again, these are nail art designs. And then when you peel it off, the design comes off with it. I assume that it probably works a lot better with nail polish, but with glue, sometimes it comes off a little bit patchy, so I'm gonna have to touch those up. But I really wanted to give Effie a really colorful candy and cupcake and like cute things kind of a sleeve, because it just suits her personality really well. And rather than hand drawing all of these little things, I wanted to try and use these, but honestly, I kind of hate how most of them came out. I'm probably gonna actually just scratch them off and redraw them myself. We'll see if I have that much patience. Otherwise, I may just leave them at least on the upper half of the arm because it's mostly going to be covered by clothes. But anyway, these are the temporary tattoos here, and on her back. And again, these are the Waterslide decals here on her arm. These are actually two different designs that I put together, and unfortunately these sometimes come out a little patchy too, so I will be touching those up. These ones came out really well, the bats on the chest, and you can see that they are kind of shiny. Once I spray them with MSC, all of the shininess will be fixed, yeah, they've already been painted over with a matte sealant. It's just not quite enough to really fully cover them. So today I left a couple to do for my video because I had been asked to do a demonstration. So we're gonna do a couple of these. Let me kind of decide which leg's gonna get which tattoo. I think we're gonna do this way. No, because it's got to be flipped. Okay, so the flower will be on the outer edge, so we're going to go with this one over here. So, with these, you could do them exactly the same way as you do a temporary tattoo on yourself, where you just wet it with a rag, but I kind of find it easier to try and grab an edge with tweezers that doesn't have any ink that's going to get damaged. So I'm going to grab right about here and just give it a really quick dunk. Oh no, and it slipped in. Of course it did, because I'm doing this on video. That hasn't happened with any of them I've done so far. But anyways, they kind of start to curl when you do that, and I find that to be helpful to get them on the doll limbs really nicely. And then you just smooth them out. And you gotta just keep smoothing for like 30 seconds. And don't peel up at all. Just be very careful that you're only kind of smoothing around. You're not actually pushing and moving it, and you're not picking it up. And when you can kind of see that it's starting to slide on its own, that's when you take it off. And then you look at it and you see if there's any of those little bubbles. And this one actually looks like it went on really, really well, even though I dropped it, thankfully. Okay, yeah, I don't see any big bubbles on this one. There is a little bit of one here. So what you do, if there's a bubble, you get your rag just a little bit damp and you just kind of tap at it. Because as long as the decal stays damp, it does move a teeny bit. Not enough that you can like reposition it, but enough that you can sometimes smooth the bubbles out. As long as you find them before it dries. Because once it dries, that's it. If you try to move it after that at all, you're going to damage it and pull it off. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. I'm going to pat it dry. And just kind of eyeball it. Okay, so it's looking good. So I'm going to leave it for now, and then what I would do is take a brush on matte sealant and seal it up really good. And then after I do all of the hand-painted designs, I'm going to spray them with MSC. But just for now, just to keep it from getting damaged, I'm going to brush over it with a matte sealant when I'm done. But first, I want to do the second tattoo, and it's going to be exactly the same process. Let me make sure I have it facing the right way. I think it looks better. I think this one looks better this way, because it looks like the flowers are growing up. Otherwise, it looks like the flowers are kind of wilting. So I'm going to put it this way on the shin there. Alright, I'm not going to dip this one with the... Oh gosh, the plastic is just stuck to me. There we go. Not going to dip this one with the tweezers because I'm afraid I'm going to drop it again. So I'm going to just hold the edge of it. There we go. Give it a little dip and see it kind of starts curling. They'll pretty much all do that. I've never had one of these temporary tattoos that didn't try to curl on me. And then you just push it down, smooth it out without pulling on it, which is probably the hardest part. of doing them this way, because sometimes if you don't have a good grip, it's really, really easy to accidentally move it while you're pushing it down, and then that's how you end up with those really big bubbles. Okay, now see how it's kind of starting to lift off by itself? This is where I would just slide it out, and I don't feel any bubbles on this one, so I'm just going to tap it dry. Okay, that went on beautifully. All right, so that's how you do doll tattoos with temporary tattoos. All right, next I'm going to do a Waterslide decal. So I'm going to do this little kitty cat. I also want to do the snake, but I feel like the snake may be a little bit finicky. So I want to do that one off camera, just so I can really focus on what I'm doing. Whereas this is a much simpler outline shape, so I think it's going to go a little bit easier. Okay, so with these you just want to clip them as close as you can to the design. And the actual instructions say to dip them for like 8 to 10 seconds. I find that they work a little bit better if you just dunk them and swish them around for like a good 20 seconds. At least twice as long as the instructions say. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay. I'm going to put this on her arm, so I want to have her arm ready. I'm just going to hold it in the water until I'm ready to take it out, because as soon as you slide it off the paper, you got to put it on. Okay. So with these, they are called Waterslide because once you put them in the water, they slide right off of the paper. So I'm gonna just put that, plop it on her arm. Oh God, it's really stuck to my finger. Here we go. Okay, so you don't want to move them around too much. You really want to try and get the position right the first time. Oh gosh, here we go. Okay, perfect. That's exactly where I want it. So I'm going to try and just clear some of this excess water from around the area with my fingers, and then blow on it. Because these you really, really don't want to touch them while they're wet. They will move. Okay, now just pat it dry around it, and it should be... Oh no, it was still a little bit wet. Damn it. Okay, that's okay. I managed to scoot it back without damaging it, so we're good. Don't wipe. Never ever wipe the water off of these, because they're called Waterslide because they like to slide. So you never want to wipe them. You're just going to dab the water carefully. And then immediately, as soon as you get them placed, you want to put a brush on sealant on them, because again, they will move. They like to move. They are very slidey. So, I am not going to wait for anything else. I am just going to do this right now. So, this is my Ultra Matte, Decal Art Ultra Matte. Okay. I'm going to put this on. I usually use a white brush. My white brush is being washed from the last application still, so I just like the white brush because I can tell if I'm accidentally lifting anything up that shouldn't be lifted up. Any colors from the tattoo, for example. Like, see, there's a little itty bitty piece of ink that was not fully attached on the back of the decal. Alright, so that's now sealed. We're gonna let that dry, and I'm gonna seal. I'm gonna seal the temporary tattoos. And I'm not super duper worried about there being any kind of brush strokes or anything, because again, when I'm finally fully finished, I will be spraying with MSC. And MSC does a great job of leveling surfaces, so it will level out small brush strokes and things by itself. So you don't really have to worry too much about that. And thankfully, because it levels out surfaces, it also does level out if your little temporary tattoos get small wrinkles in them, which sometimes happens because, again, these are meant for human bodies and not itty-bitty doll limbs. And, you know, sometimes they just wrinkle a little bit as you're positioning them. But the MSC will also help to level that out. And it'll still be, like, you'll still be able to feel it a little bit, but it won't, like, show up on pictures unless you're really getting in there with the zoom, like a macro function or something. Just pulling little floofies out of there so they don't get sealed in. But this is essentially it. This is the process. So, there's those sealed. And I'm going to seal these ones up here so that I can touch them up. Because I'll obviously, when they're super shiny like that, if I try to paint on them to touch them up, there's no tooth. It's not gonna hold. So, I'm going to seal them. I may end up taking these off. This sealer is kind of easy to remove if you want to. It's not a great final sealer, but it is just fine as a temporary sealer. So if I decide I want to take these off later, I still can. And I probably will, to be honest, because other than like this little candy piece here, they didn't come out very well. And I'm not thrilled with the colors. I feel like they're almost a little too bright. So, I don't know. We'll see how I feel once I kind of tamp down the shininess a little bit. If I still hate them, I may just take some rubbing alcohol to her arm and completely start this arm over and just draw them by hand. It'll be a lot more tedious, but I think it might be worth it because I'm just not really happy with them. So, I don't know, maybe I'll change my mind later and decide I like them. Anyway, that's going to be it for today. It's really not difficult. That's all there is to show because it's a very simple process. It works exactly like a temporary tattoo on your body, except that you can seal it so it doesn't come off. Okay, so thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.